Hi, everybody. It's Susan, and I haven't been on Talk to Me Tuesday in a couple of months, and I apologize for that. I have been in a slump. I haven't done much of any crafting um, for a couple of months. I got kind of caught up in the YouTube rabbit hole where I went on and looked at different YouTube videos. I rewatched the entire Game of Thrones 8 seasons. I watched a couple more serials like that, but I just hadn't been motivated to get my up off my butt and come in here and do some crafting. I think part of that was because I was having trouble with my machines. I got frustrated. Another problem was that my sewing room just was in disarray, complete, utter mess. And it was depressing just to even walk in here. So, and if I opened up my cabinet doors where I keep my fabric, I couldn't find anything. So, I think in the past 2 or 3 months, the only thing I've really accomplished was a couple of quilt tops that I've sent to, 4 quilt tops for kids that I sent to Jennifer this past week. That's it. So, I have made a commitment to myself. Number one is to clean out the sewing room so that I don't mind coming in here. And to that end, for the past several days, I have pulled out every bit of fabric in my wardrobe, my fabric wardrobe, sorted through it, found everything that I could cut into 1 yard cuts. And this was like if I had 3 yards of the fabric, I would cut 3 1 yard cuts, and I'll explain that later. If I had 1.5 yards, I'd cut it in 1 yard cut and 1/2 yard. So, I got those all folded up and put into little bins that are shoebox size bins approximately. They may be a little smaller. And got those set up. Then I took everything that was less than 1 yard. Oh, and anything that was 3 or 4 yards or was the wide material, I folded up and I put that in the bottom of the wardrobe because those will go for backings. So, everything else, small size, I picked out what I wanted to keep and I put those into the same little shoebox size bins, and they're up on the top shelf. All of the 1 yards are in the next 2 shelves down, and in the bottom shelf I've got my stabilizers and my backing fabric. So that's good, but I had way too much fabric between less than 1 yard fabric. So I went through it all and I decided what I was going to keep and what I was going to let go. And I picked out all the fabric that I thought, I really don't like this. It's okay and it would go good with so-and-so, but I'm never going to use it. If I live to be 100, I will not use all of the scrap fabrics I had. Number one, I don't particularly care to make scrappy quilts. And the only thing that I use my scraps for is for paper piecing. And I think 6 bins of the scrappy material is a gracious plenty for doing that. So I contacted a couple of our local quilt guilds and asked if they knew of anybody who would want. I ended up with 5 shoeboxes of scrap quilts. Plus, scrap pieces of fabric that were like a fat eighth up to a half yard. Then I had all this other smaller scraps left over, so I put that in a garbage bag, and it was like a half a bag full, 2 half bags full, garbage bags. But if you put it all in one of them, it's too heavy to carry around. So I contacted the Quilt Guild here in Kernersville and couldn't get a hold of anybody, and they're not having on in-person meetings anymore. So I contacted the one in Winston, one of the ones in Winston. Couldn't get a hold of anybody. So I thought, what the heck am I going to do? I'm not going to throw it away. Somebody can use this fabric. I can't afford to send 50 pounds of fabric to somebody. And so what I did was I went on Facebook, and they've got the marketplace things and the yard sale things and whatever. So I went on the ones in this area and I posted. I took a picture of the bins and I explained what I had, and I said, it's free if you want it. And then I thought, well, shoot, I didn't even post this to my friends. One of my friends may have wanted it. So I posted it there too. Within 5 minutes of posting on Marketplace, I had 8 people send me a message that they wanted the fabric. So I answered the first one that posted and told her, I'll be glad to meet you and give it to you. And she said, that's wonderful. So we set up a time. I'm actually meeting with her tomorrow. And the next people that showed up, I told them there's somebody who wants it. If she doesn't show up at the meeting, I'll contact you next. And I did that to the next person after her. And I kept sending to everybody else that it had been sold, well, what they call sold, until I got to another request for the fabric. And it was a woman who has just started quilting last week. And I wished that she had answered first. But anyway, she included a picture of her first quilt, which was little 5-inch squares in different colors all over, and it was beautiful. She did a really good job. So I told her, I have almost finished going through all of my fabric. I have already promised this to another person, but I've almost finished going through my fabric. But I'm going to go through one more time and see if there is anything else in there that I don't really need. So I'm going to go through and pick out some things to give to her. And she lives in the area here. But I really do. I have got a bunch of what am I going to say here? I have a lot of jelly roll strips, and I've still got some stuff. The 6 bins I've got across the top, actually it's 7, because one is stacked on top of them, maybe 2. But those, it wouldn't hurt to thin them out a little bit more. So I think I'm going to go through there and pick out some fabrics for her and let her know that I have them. And I was looking around in here and realized I had some more fabric stashed over on the floor over beside of this cabinet on the other side of it that I haven't looked at yet. I think there's some in the smaller cabinet over on the other wall. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go through and get her some fabric. And now that's all I've done. Uh, but now I want to tell you about my New Year's resolutions, or not resolutions, goals. I want to finish at least one quilt top every month. I've got to do double time. I'm going to have to do two quilts in 1 month, quilt tops in 1 month to make up for January, but I want to do at least one per month for charity quilting. Then I want to finish my Project of Doom anniversary quilt top. I've decided which layout I'm going to use. I've got all the fabric for the background and whatever. And so that's what I want to do with that. There's a couple of changes I want to make to the background, and it's going to take me a minute or two to figure out how to do that because I'm not a designer. I'm just a piecer who follows patterns. That's my thing. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do this, but I'm going to do it. And I want to have that done by December. That's my Christmas gift to me. And other than that, I am not making any other goals. As far as the charity quilts, I have gotten hooked on um, Fabric Cafe's 3-yard quilts. And they're quilts that are made from 1 yard of 3 different fabrics. And that's why I sorted so many of the fabrics into 1-yard cuts. And so I've got the first book to do it with. The little blue and yellow quilts that I made. The one with the Jacob's Ladder was made from a pattern from her book. But anyway, the patterns run around 40 to 55, 56, somewhere in that neighborhood. Some of them may be 42 by 54. Some of them may be, but they're around in the 40 width by 50 something size, which is a good size pattern for a lap quilt for a toddler, young kid, or a baby quilt. It's also a good size for someone in a wheelchair. So some of my quilts will go to Linus Connection, and some of them will go to a service we have in here, Cancer Services, which gives things to people who are cancer patients or have actually beat cancer, but they're still considered, like me, I'm still considered a cancer patient. So, those will go to them for them to give to people in wheelchairs, or just a lap quilt to lay over their legs when they're sitting and watching TV. So that's my goal. 12 charity quilts and the POD anniversary quilt. If I do something else somewhere in the middle of that, that's extra. But I really want to get this done. Now, that's all I got, except to say I've missed y'all. I'm sorry I've been negligent in posting. I've read all your posts or watched all your posts, and I promise that I'll try to be more diligent in making a video. And I have see what happens when you don't post for a while. You sit here and use up 15 minutes. I'm going to call it a day, and I will talk to you next Tuesday. Bye, gang.